Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Cathers. I'm the Executive Director of the Kentucky Arts Council, and I want to thank you each for joining us for today's Creative Industry Summit Series. This is creating a marketing plan for your art business, a step-by-step guide to marketing your artwork effectively. On behalf of the staff and the board, I want to say a welcome. I also want to take a moment to recognize our friends, our artists, our arts organizations in Laurel County, Pulaski County, and Russell County who are dealing with, the devastating events around the recent tornadoes. I know in our office we have reached out to a number of artists and arts organizations to check on them, do wellness checks, see what needs are there. I also want to do a shout out to the Kentucky Heritage Emergency Relief Network for all the work that they do. And they have been very quick to respond, not only in this situation, but last month as we were dealing with floods there too. So thank you for joining us for today's session. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tamara Coffey.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, I'm Tamara Coffey. I'm the Arts Program Branch Manager here at the Kentucky Arts Council. I hope you've been able to join us for some of our other Creative Industry Summit Series events so far. And if you haven't, or if you just want to experience them again, they are recorded and on our YouTube channel. So don't forget to check in. Today's event will also be recorded and available on YouTube in a few days. We're going to ask you to drop your questions into the chat, or when our speaker begins to present, she's going to do breaks for questions and you'll be able to talk directly to her. So either way is fine. So Dr. Rachel Shane is the department chair and a professor of arts administration at the University of Kentucky. She oversees the department's 3-degree programs, the BA, the MA, and the PhD in Arts Administration, as well as the Graduate Certificate in Fundraising and Development and Professional Development offerings. She also teaches a variety of courses in the degree programs. Outside of UK, Dr. Shane is the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Arts Management, Law and Society, the president of the board of director for social theory, politics, and the arts, and a former board member for the Association of Arts Administration Educators. She's the co-editor of the anthology Arts and Cultural Management Critical Sources, published by Bloomsbury Press. She's published many articles. She's also conducted research and published on pedagogy utilizing technology, integrating meaningful technologies in the arts administration classroom, creating a constructivist and connectivist learning environment, and a guide to teaching music online. Most recently, she has presented research on teaching soft skills through an emotional intelligence curriculum. Prior to joining the UK faculty, Dr. Shane served as department head and professor of arts administration at the Savannah College of Art and Design, where she established the arts administration program and grew it into the 4th largest graduate program at the college. While there, she led the design and creation of 3-degree programs, including one of the only online graduate programs in arts administration, a Master of Arts degree program on campus, and an undergraduate minor in arts, entertainment, and management. She was also the managing director of the Elm Shakespeare Company in New Haven, Connecticut. And she has served as associate director of the Delaware Theater Company and as the associate director of the Theater for Young Audiences, tour director of the Theater for Young Audiences, and theater summer camp director for the Hippodrome State Theater in Gainesville, Florida. She earned her PhD in Cultural Policy and Arts Administration at The Ohio State University. She also earned a Master of Science in the Arts Administration from Drexel University, a Bachelor of Science in Theater from Northern Arizona University, and an AA degree from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I hope you're ready. We're going to have a great event today. And here is Rachel Shane.
Hey everyone, that definitely was my long bio. I should have sent you my short one. I didn't realize you had that one. Well, I'm really happy to be here today and excited to chat with you all and chat about your marketing and what you're doing and what we might be able to do to think about how you might expand some of the ways you're reaching your audiences. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. But just so you know, this is designed as workshop style, and I have shared in advance worksheets in Word, in PDF, and I have a Google Drive version. So hopefully I dropped them in the chat box. I shared them via email. Hopefully you can access those because we're going to work through those worksheets while we're doing this. And I'm going to ask you even to share what you're coming up with, and we're going to brainstorm together. So let me get started by sharing my screen. Let's see. All right, are we good? Everyone sees it good? Well, okay, awesome. Perfect. All right. So what we're talking about today is creating a marketing plan. And a marketing plan at the end of the day is really just a roadmap to talk about who you're trying to reach, how you're going to reach them, and what you want them to do once you do. So the idea here is that we're going to set some goals for what you want to do and what we're going to talk about what tools you're currently using to do this, and then what tactics. And the tactics really come down to the what, when, how, where you're using these tools to accomplish what you want to do. All right, so really at the end of the day, artists needs a marketing plan just like any other kind of business because artists are a small business. And marketing really is going to help build your visibility and your credibility. And at the end of the day, we hope what happens is you're able to connect your creative goals by getting your work to the audience that you want. So I'm going to start right now by asking you all, what kind of marketing are you doing right now? Are you on social media? Are you selling on Etsy? Are you doing fairs? And you can unmute or you can drop it in the chat, either way. All right, Brooke says she has a website, her own website, and she's doing arts fairs, right? What else? What's everyone else doing? Social media, good. April, if you wouldn't mind dropping in, what social media tools are you using? Etsy, perfect. So an online artist marketplace, galleries, exhibits. Oh, TikTok, excellent. Just getting started, doing visual arts, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Okay, lots of social, awesome. Fairs website, live painting in different communities. Oh, that's fantastic, super interesting. Just starting out. Doing magazines. David, when you say magazines, are you placing ads in magazines? Are you getting PR in magazines? What are you doing with that? Oh, on the cover. Well, that should bring you some good visibility. Huge Friday night opening at Open Studio. Fantastic. Wonderful. This is super, super helpful to know. And so in this same vein, since a lot of you are doing all kinds of things, what do you feel like is your biggest challenge right now? What do you feel like you need more help with? Good. So we're seeing, yes, some oh, a wholesale platform. That's great too. And you don't have to be shy. You can jump onto and unmute. Not enough time. Oh my gosh. Yes, I totally understand that. Not enough time. You're doing your creative work and then you're trying to also market yourself, not being gimmicky, the organization and directions, expanding the audiences to new markets, the sales funnel, finding serious buyers, but not enough time, or finding a gallery regionally. Yeah, these are all great, super, super helpful. And I think that one that someone said, not being gimmicky, we're gonna really connect and talk a little bit about how we be authentic in this. So yeah, more wider audience, knowing how to focus. So one of the common myths I feel like I hear a lot about with arts marketing is that people think, well, if my art's good enough, it's just going to sell. And of course, that's not necessarily true, because people have to know you exist and that you're making that work and that you want to sell it. And that marketing might just be for commercial artists, but all artists can benefit from audience engagement, which is what I really like to think of marketing as. It's a way to connect with our audiences. Or that marketing is manipulative or inauthentic. And that does connect with what someone said about being too gimmicky. And so what we want to talk about today is really, how do we find values-based content and connect it with people? So we want to be as true as we can to the practice that you're doing and identify ways that you're unique in a broader marketplace. So first, I want to share someone who is a very successful artist out of Australia, and what she's doing right now in order to have left her full-time job and now is pursuing her arts practice full-time. So she does almost all of her selling on Instagram. She works 5 days a week. She creates more than 100 paintings a year, but some of her smallest works that she's selling online can be done in 1 day. So she's also using a practice called limited edition prints, right? And so this provides something to sell for a lower price point. So in the limited edition prints that she does, she will sell 10 for $320 each. So a price point that is accessible to more people. As I said, all of her sales are coming through Instagram without paid posts. And 50% of her sales are actually traveling overseas out of Australia. And more than half of her collectors at this point are repeat buyers. So she calls herself a botanical artist. So she's already, when she says that and puts that on things, she is already communicating something about the value or the expectation of what you can get when you look at her artwork. Now, how is she doing all this? How did she move out of doing her day job into being able to just do this? And if you'll see here on her Instagram post, she has over 90,000 followers. That's a lot of people. I don't know how many you have, but that is a lot of people. But she's posted a lot, right? Over 1,800 posts that she's put on this Instagram site. So how is she doing this? She is spending the not enough time. That one is key to me, because when we look at Wanda, one of the things she is doing, she's spending 3 hours a day on screen time to do this kind of marketing. That is a lot. So we're going to talk about managing those expectations. She's consistently posting, so she's always got something coming out. She's using hashtags in her social, so people are finding her even if they don't know her. And she's using quite a few reels to really kind of highlight things that sometimes as artists we might take for granted that are really special to people who might purchase or collect art. Understanding the artistic process, or seeing behind the scenes, watching even how long it takes a work in progress, whatever your process is, what your studio looks like. So all of these things. One of the things that she also does is she connects with other artists, as you probably all do, to share her work, but she shares artists on her own Instagram. So she's not taking that highly competitive approach thinking, well, I can't talk about what other artists are doing because they're my competition. She's looking at this all as a shared marketplace. So she's sharing artists, and when she started doing that, artists started sharing her back. And that started also building who would purchase her artwork. Now, a few other things that she's doing that makes it seem more accessible to people who are finding her on Instagram is she is creating those small shippable works. On Instagram, she connects to her website. When people give her an email address, she's created an email newsletter, so she is connecting with them monthly. She offers free worldwide shipping. So, of course, what's happening there is you're building that shipping price into the price of your piece. But I don't know about you, but when I see free shipping, I'm much more likely to purchase than when I see I have to pay $2.99 for shipping. So whatever it is, it does make it feel more accessible. So it might be a mental thing, but it's something that she's doing that works. So I know she's spending a lot of time doing this, but do any of the strategies that she's using sound doable to you as an artist trying to connect with more audiences? And if so, what might those be? Again, unmute or throw it in the chat. What seems like maybe it's doable for you? Oh, an email newsletter. Great, Carol, that's awesome. So an email newsletter, it's all, we don't have to do one every week. We certainly don't have to do one every day. Even if we set up the expectation that we do it quarterly or monthly, then our market can know what to expect and what we're going to share in there. Maybe where to find us, new work we're putting on, a quarterly email. That's great. Brooke, post 3 times a week on Instagram and add extra to the stories. Excellent. Reels and consistent posts. These are great ideas. These are awesome ways to start really building the expectation.
Think trying to get a long, oops, sorry. Hold on, things are weird. There we go. Now I got my audio. I think also like just trying to get in with your local media, like, if you can get in with news or radio or anything of the such.
Absolutely, David. And you said that you had just recently gotten a PR piece in a magazine, and that is fantastic because it is one of the things that's awesome about that is people look at it as very trustworthy, whether or not we think all media is trustworthy. When we read a story about an artist and the good work they're doing, we're like, oh, that's really cool. I want to find out more about them. I'm going to investigate them.
Yeah.
And so that's great. Oh, I hear that Greenup County is here. They got a watch party going on. So, and maybe you can join in if people are adding to the conversation. Oh, finding local arts organizations to participate in. Absolutely. Those are really great ideas. And working on smaller items these days. Yeah, it's great. I mean, really finding those things where you can find people at all price points can really help build your market as well. Okay, so we're going to jump into our first worksheet. Okay, so the first thing now I'm going to drop them in again in case you missed them. Here's the link to the Google Docs. And I'm going to drop the files in, a Word file and a PDF. So here are workshops. These are for you. Write on them, use them as you wish. So the first thing I want us to think about is, so right here, we've got all these people on our screen. All these people are trying to sell a product in the artistic marketplace. And we know this isn't all of them, right? We've been to Kentucky Crafted, we've been to the arts fairs. We know there's a lot of people out there. So we have to find ways to differentiate ourselves and think about what makes us our own brand and how we're going to connect that with an audience who wants that. So the first thing, very, very simple, just what is the medium or type of art form you specialize in? Are you doing digital art? Are you doing photography, sculpture, painting? Are you doing jewelry making? Whatever it is, that's what you're writing down. So then maybe the more difficult one to think about, starting to drive down a little bit more, is what's the theme of your work? The artist I shared, she identified herself as a botanical artist. So she was talking about the theme that was her artwork. Does your artwork tend to have a theme, or does it have a value? Are you an artist that always upcycles materials? Are you an artist that always uses locally based product? Are you, something like that? So are there certain values that are coming in your work? Or there certain emotions that you're trying to convey? Essentially, what's the core? Why are you doing this work? What is it that you want to resonate with people emotionally? Does anyone have one they want to share that they're thinking? I see Carol is sharing that her area is printmaking. So that's great, the type of art. And then, so if anyone has something they want to share, number 2, the themes, values, emotions, what are you trying to convey? Humor and snark in pottery. I love that. So that's super unique, right? So that's going to really help us when we start trying to talk about who is our audience that we're trying to find. Surrealism, dreamscape, analog collage. Awesome. So what is making your work different from others? Maybe you're already kind of dropping that in, right? Woodwork, yes, definitely. And woodwork, one of the things I think when I see wood artists is I often think about what that says about their collectors too, who might want to connect with nature and who have a great passion for the outdoors. Those are things, and David shares that he makes spoons. So there's a practicality about the work. It's artwork that we can use in the practice of making other artwork. Maybe we're a culinary artist, or I'm a home culinary amateur, but I want to use really quality materials in order to do that. Stephanie shares that she wants to convey mental health with her work. And that's super interesting and important right now. It's certainly something everyone's talking about. So these are things that can help make our art unique and part of what we actually have to try to communicate. So more than just share our work, we have to share why it matters and what makes it different from what they're going to get with something else. So ultimately, what this is going to lead to is we're going to create our brand message. So how are these values that we have, and what can an audience expect to receive every time they interact with our brand? Derek shares, I'm making baskets with fun, bright colors and whimsical designs. So the values are, I'm embracing maybe happiness and joy, and you bring those pieces into your home, or what about into your office to change the way the dynamic of your space is. And that's something that people can expect from your work. And if they're looking for a piece like that, they know to go to you. So these are things to think about when you're figuring out your brand statement worksheet. Anyone have any questions about this piece? And I know you might not have gotten it all done, which is why I wanted to share with you worksheets so that you can go back and also think about them. I love this. So David is already coming up with his core brand message because his company's name is Happy Spooning. So it's telling us already something about his values. And that's really awesome. And then we have capturing the essence of natural landscapes and abstract mindscapes. I call my work prayer dots. It's really interesting. So now maybe the work is what I'm bringing to people is something more reflective, right? So, and that's something that they can have, maybe even meditative pieces. So that's really nice. So this is great. You're already thinking of how your work is different and you're identifying it. So now we have to really start thinking of marketing goals. So we kind of know what we're doing. Now we want to set some marketing goals. So when we set goals, we're going to be talking about something we call SMART goals. And probably some of you have heard that before. And it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So you all came here today because you want to accomplish something. And so I'm curious what you want to do, right? What exactly do you want to do? Do you want to get more Instagram followers? Do you want to get a broader collection to send out to your e-newsletter? How are you going to track your success then? So if we're going to grow our Instagram followers, that's what we want to do. How are we going to know if we're successful? The percent increase, we're going to get up to 1,000 followers. And then we're going to set some sort of realistic timeline. We're going to get 1,000 followers on Instagram within 1 year. Okay, that seems realistic. And how does it matter? What does it support your bigger vision? So of course, this is relevant because it's going to increase our impact, how many people are seeing us. And then that deadline, that time frame, in the next 30 days, by a certain day, in the next year. David wants to grow his online sales. Valerie wants to grow an email list so she can get off social media. Now, social media, I totally understand that. Totally feel it. But social media might be a good way to get some of those people into your email list. So you can figure out how to make those connections. And so with both of those, think about what growth means. I want to grow my online sales. So do we want to put a dollar figure by that? I want to grow my online sales to X dollars, or I want to increase it by 100%. You have to come up with the amount so you know if you're successful. You have to give yourself some time frame to do it, right? We can want to grow 100% on our online sales in a month, but is it realistic? Can we really do it? So we want to think about those things. So Brooke wants to sell a painting each time she releases a collection. So already I'm thinking in my head, well, how many collections do we have? How are you communicating your collections? How are you communicating when those come out? Are you showing people the value of the collection? And I'm already thinking of content we can start generating around that, Brooke. So what is start putting all of the pieces on the goals. So the time frame, how much energy it's going to take. Are you going to be able to do it, right? And how you're going to track success. So here's a few samples that use all those characteristics. So I'm going to grow my Instagram by following by 15% by July 1st, by posting 3 times a week and using 5 new hashtags per post. So they're very specific. So we're having consistency in posting and we're using hashtags, which hopefully will drive more people to us. And, you know, you're right here on a Kentucky Arts Council webinar. And so, and you're a Kentucky Arts Council member, perhaps, or maybe you've got an artist grant. I mean, that is a good hashtag to use. The Kentucky Arts Council. I posted about this workshop using the Kentucky Arts Council post, because there might be people who follow Kentucky Arts Council that know nothing about me. And maybe they saw that when I posted that I was going to be doing that. Yolanda says, do hashtags work anymore? They still do, actually, yes. And so we still see them. We can still search by them on most platforms. So it is something that can still work. So here's one on the newsletter. I'm going to send 1 email newsletter each month for 3 months to keep my collectors and my supporters updated on my new work development. So now one thing that's missing is where we're going to get the email addresses, right? So maybe it's assuming we already have a good email list, but that's something to think about too. Here's another one. I'm going to apply to 3 local or regional juried shows by June 15th to increase my exhibition experience. So that if that's the goal, right, we want to try to get in more exhibitions. Or here's a way someone's going to try to build an email list. I'm going to build my email list to 100 subscribers in the next 60 days by offering a free print download in exchange for the sign up, right? So you have to decide what the value is to you. And maybe that's not a print that you would go on to sell. Maybe it's, you know, something you just did for this. But, you know, think about what you could do in order to get those. So write and schedule a 3-part welcome email series for new subscribers. So that's something, and we'll talk about some platforms to use later, but if that's something that you want to do, you could actually set that up to auto populate once people sign up into your platform. And you're going to update your artist website by the end of the month. So that's something we have to make sure we've got our bio and recent works and things for sale and when that's sold and what that updated contact form is. So, all right. All right, so brainstorm what it is you want to accomplish in your marketing the next month. Are you growing your audience? Are you selling your work? Are you promoting a show? Are you building that email list, or just trying to get more engagement? So see if you can jot down even just one for right now. If anyone has one, you can jump in. Kind of all of the above, yes. So you want to give yourself, okay, here's what. I'm going to create a method to collect email addresses from local art fair clients by July 1st. That's great. So right now, that to me, that's telling me right now, maybe I haven't been collecting that information, but I'm going to start. And maybe I'm going to bring my iPad and people are going to sign up automatically on a form, or I'm going to have them write it down on a piece of paper, or when I sell work, I'm going to collect that as part of the collection of the information I need. So there's different ways to do it. Carol's going to make sure she's got that email newsletter by the fall going. We're going to update Etsy listings. We're going to get to 2,000 followers by September. We're going to have to think about what we're going to do to get to those 2,000 followers, drive traffic to the website and Etsy shop. Yes, so that means we need to make sure all those links are always correct and we're always pushing out those links. Because if we don't tell people where to find it, they cannot find it. So that's great. Create and send out a newsletter each month. Perfect. All right, so now let's talk about who our audience is. And we're going to do this with an audience persona. And this is like, who do I want to buy my work? And yes, anyone will pay is who I want to buy my work, of course. But we know that that's probably not realistic. We know there's a market for our specific work. And we want to try to think about who those people are. And there's probably, even if you haven't formally tracked this, there's probably some observations you already have about who these people are. So does anyone have any just general observations about who has been purchasing their work? Anything about, you can use demographics, psychographics, any thoughts? Oh, there's some, and you unmuted. Do you have something? No. Okay.
I will say most of my work comes from older ladies.
Okay, perfect. Okay, this is great. So this is telling us something, right? So we
Yeah.
know right now the people who most likely buy my work tend to be perhaps women 50 and older, 60 and older, but that's telling us something about who they are and who we can connect more with. And if there's people we are not connecting with that we need to try to connect with in a new way. Oh, that tends to be another 40 to 60-year-old females. I'll tell you, women really are the traditional arts purchasers. So that is not unusual, but it sometimes depends on the work. So depending on the kind of work that you're selling. So Ann Stevens shares that the farmers market customers is their traditional target audience. So who's also going there. And that's great because that's a psychographic. That's telling us something about a behavior they're already doing. That's connecting us. So they like farmers markets. Well, if we know they like farmers markets and we're at the farmers market, we know there might be other things that people who like farmers market might be doing where we could connect with them in those places too.
I do have an addition. You asked.
Yeah.
I do like naturalist things like birds and wildflowers. And I have had really more men doing like woodpeckers and everything on interested in what I do. It's fascinating though, that question.
Yeah, so that's great. So maybe that's telling you something. If you look at who the population is that maybe are more birders, I mean, that might be something to look at, right? If you're saying, oh, when I paint about birds, I tend to get more men. Maybe if you do some research about birders, I don't know off the top of my head if they tend to be more male, but that might tell you something. And also it's going to give you insight on how to potentially reach them outside of the traditional markets. And so, oh, Yolanda offers this is interesting. Home buyers who are looking for large paintings. Well, isn't that something? Now, that could be later, we could talk about it, but what an interesting potential collaboration with a realtor that you could have if you put large paintings in homes that are for sale that have nothing in them. Right? So here's the way you have to start thinking about it once you start drilling down to who are the people getting these. So 40 plus women with disposable income who like flowers. Yes, I'm one of them. And folks who appreciate connections to Eastern Kentucky. And those are really good things that we can then capitalize on later when we're talking about content. Interior designers. Oh, David offers Airbnb for paintings. That's great. You don't even have to give, you can loan, right? Like to get it in there and to also sell it from the Airbnb. So there are different ways you can really think about these collaborations. All right, so on your worksheet on audience persona, you're going to kind of write down those ideas that you had on who's currently buying. And then who do you want to reach more of in the future? So if we know who we're already buying our work, supporting our work, maybe even who comes and looks at our work the most if we're doing a live event, those might be things that we want to keep in mind. And then are there people we also want to reach that we haven't quite capitalized on yet? Who are those people? And then in part 2 of this worksheet, and you can think about this later too, because this is kind of a longer one, but I ask you to think about your demographics and your psychographics. You know, what's the age range? And, you know, often we do think of arts buyers as being a middle-aged to older, and that largely is because of disposable income, but it depends. Because what if you are making handmade, custom, really cool bags or jewelry? And maybe your audience would be younger then, depending on what it is. So it does depend. So you can even think about income level or education level. And where do they live? You know, are they primarily, so someone was mentioning Eastern Kentucky, they have values in Eastern Kentucky. And maybe our current market is currently living in Eastern Kentucky. Maybe we want to bring that to other parts of the state. Or maybe we don't, but it tells us something about what we might be interested in thinking through. And when you're thinking about psychographics, it's about what do they care about? So, I mean, with Eastern Kentucky, you can do the same thing. That's not just a geographic region, that's a value set. And so you can talk about that too. And maybe you're featuring things in the work. Maybe they have certain hobbies and interests. You know, we already kind of talked about the idea if you're selling, excuse me, the wooden spoons. What kind of hobbies and interests do they have that actually connects with the product? You know, you can find out some of these things by talking to people at your live events. And so you're going to take all this information on your demographics and your psychographics, and you're going to create what we call an audience persona. And that audience persona is going to tell us maybe who our ideal customer is, who actually is buying the majority of our work. This does not have to be every customer. This has to be who buys the majority of our work. And it helps us focus, because if we don't have 4 hours a day to spend trying to reach everyone, this can help us focus on the person we know buys most of the work. So in my example here, I'm saying that Lena is a 38-year-old interior designer in Louisville who loves supporting independent artists, and she follows arts accounts on Instagram, shops local, values sustainability. That might be a value that one of you has, and storytelling. That might be another value somebody has. So here's where those values are coming in. So, and then the challenge would be, how do I find a way to reach this person this month? And if we're thinking about, you know, maybe it has something to do with interior design. Maybe it's about getting something in magazines or on websites that interior designers go to. Maybe it's about putting up content that's about sustainability. So those are part of how you can think about that connection. So then at the end of this particular worksheet, which I know you'll probably have to come back to, but the idea here is you're combining your brand and your audience. So, you know, that you're creating a specific art form for a specific audience, and you want it to have a specific value or impact. So I gave a couple of examples in that worksheet. I designed textile art inspired by Appalachian traditions for collectors that are interested in craft heritage. So it starts to help us identify who we are and who we're sharing in our marketing materials. We don't want to be inauthentic. We want to be authentic. So this is going to help focus that in. Any questions so far? Sharing anything? Okay. Well, let's
It's
talk
all
about
wonderful. I just want to say, very
Oh,
helpful
good.
to have an outline and somebody
Oh,
that is really good at knowing what to do and where to go and how to get going. So thank you.
you're very welcome, Anne. It's my pleasure. I'm happy to help. So once we really think about that, part of the reason I talk so much about that before I jump into what you thought this workshop might be on is because if we don't know who we are or what we're trying to communicate, we're not going to be successful at finding the right person to purchase our work. So most people, when you talk about marketing, they think we're going to talk about what I'm going to talk about next, which is the marketing channels. They think that's what it's all about. And unless we do all that pre-work, we're not going to be successful in the marketing channel. So we really have to understand ourselves and who we're trying to connect to before we can develop what we're going to do on the marketing channel. So in our marketing channels, you know, the basics of this is that it's just the path or the route in which we're selling our good. So how it's coming from us to the final customer. And there could be an intermediary in there. There could be a gallery. There could be, you know, the Berea Center that's selling our work there. It could be something like that. Or we could be going direct to consumer. But whatever the things are that we're doing that gets the product from us as the maker to the hand of the customer who's going to enjoy it, that's all the marketing channels that are going to take place. So I have a worksheet that describes them a little more in depth in your handout there, but we're going to be looking right at both what we call direct channels, indirect channels, and hybrid. So our direct channels are things you've talked already a lot about: social media, email, our website, and our in-person events. Our indirect channels are going to be Etsy, those online marketplaces, galleries where our work is being shown, and publications or PR that we're getting in the media. And then hybrid might be those collaborations that we were just talking about. If we have a realtor, Airbnb, if, you know, we're developing a project with another artist, or a restaurant is going to let us put our show up in their space for a month, or those are the collaborations where it's kind of both direct and indirect channels. All right, so we've got these marketing channels and talking about what they are. And on your worksheet, I want you to go through and check which ones are you doing now. You can just put a check mark. What am I using right now? And then try to find 2 or 3 that you want to try. I've not done this before, but I want to try it. Or that you want to expand. So maybe you're already on social media, but you know that you haven't been posting or you haven't been putting things on to really help people have your site visible. Maybe you want to expand that. Several of you said that you really want to build out that newsletter. So maybe that's what you want to do, or update your website. So you can kind of mark which things are the most important for you to work on, and also accessible. If it's something that you don't feel comfortable doing, that's fine. You do not have to do everything, and you shouldn't do everything. It would be too much. What's authentic and natural for you? Now, that doesn't mean you won't have to learn something. Like maybe I'll have to learn how to do the newsletter, but it feels really natural to me because then I'm going to reach out directly. I'm going to be able to tell my story in more of a long form than social media. Then that's when maybe you want to do. But it doesn't mean I don't have to learn anything. It just means maybe it feels more natural to who you are as a person and an artist. Is there anything new anyone said that they want to try or really expand on? Anyone want to share on one thing?
I think building the website would be my biggest issue
Building
of
the
not
website.
knowing how or where or what.
Well, the great news about website building nowadays is there's no code needed. There's all kinds of tools that we can use to get up a decent website. And when you say you want to build a website and you've never had one, you're going to do 3 pages maximum. No more, right? We're going to start small. We do not have to build a huge website to have impact. Brooke offers maybe TikTok, but I'm old. All kinds of people are on TikTok, Brooke. So we don't have to worry about that. But the one fun thing about TikTok is it can help people, the video format can help you meet a different demographic. So you also have to know if that's the right demographic for your artwork, right? So who's on there? I mean, you're going to have it obviously skews younger. So you're going to have younger. Good galleries. So maybe are there galleries that we want to access? Those are great. Those are great ways to think about it. Now, how, being a soap maker, I don't know how or why if a gallery would display work for me. No, but a merchandiser might sell your work in a Kentucky Crafted store, in a store that, is a tourism-based shop, that attracts people there. You could also look at, I don't know, right, I don't know exactly what kind of soap you're making, but if, let's say you make soap that has a bourbon scent, maybe a distillery would put it in their gift shop. They all have gift shops nowadays, and anything that would have that connection might be something they'd be willing to do. So we're going to think outside too of that box, because one of the things when you're thinking about how you're unique and different, it's awesome to work in all the arts fairs, but when you're working in all the arts fairs, your competition is every single person there. If you can think of how you're unique and connect with an audience in a different space, there might only be 2 or 3 artists in that space. So that's something that can really help going to different ones outside of the traditional arts fairs too. And Carol offers that she's seen a lot at various fairs and events. So maybe, maybe it's not even the arts fair. Maybe it's something completely different. All right. So the reality is we need to think about our channels, our marketing channels with our budget. And when I talk about budget, I mean not just money, but your time. Because the time that you spend is money, right? It's worth something. How much are you willing to spend in dollars, and how many hours are you willing to commit to meet your SMART goal? And that's what you have to connect to. So, and maybe we have to break it down by not just hours a month. Maybe we have to be even more strategic about it. I'm going to spend 20 minutes a day, 3 days a week, making sure something's on my social media. Or because that way it's more quantifiable, right? I can put it on my calendar. If I say I'm going to spend 10 hours a month on marketing, it could be June 30th and I need to spend 10 hours a month now on marketing. And that's actually not going to connect, repeatedly in that. So, and so that's one thing to think about. And then dollars, are there dollars you want to put behind it? And dollars can be different things. Dollars can mean that we're investing in a platform that helps us do these things, whether that's a website platform, a sales platform for our online store, Etsy giving, percentages, an email marketing platform where we're going to do paid advertising on social media, these kinds of things. So is there a budget? And sometimes you don't have to do a big budget to see some kind of difference. You know, maybe we know I'm going to be willing to spend $30 a month to buy a new email service that's going to allow me to build content-based email newsletters and store all my contacts in. And then, so my budget's going to be $30 a month, and I'm going to put 2 hours a week into it. 8 hours to get that done. So like I was mentioning before, you also want to just find those platforms that feel the most natural to use and the ones that you don't hate. If you're not going to use it consistently, it is not going to be worth it. Consistency is more important than being everywhere. If you only want to be on one social media platform, be on one social media platform, but use it and use it consistently. I would rather see that. I don't know if any of you have had this experience, but maybe you're thinking, oh, I'm thinking about going to try a new restaurant. And I want to see what they posted on Facebook. Maybe, you know, what's their special tonight or their happy hour or something like that. And you go and you see they haven't posted anything since 2022. Now I'm like, is that restaurant still in business? So it would be better for them to take it down than to have nothing there. Right? Consistency is key here. Same thing with your website. You don't want it to be stale and stagnant. You're going to have to put new things up, especially as you sell and create new work. So you're going to bring this all together into your channel selection matrix. So what is, you know, where am I going to find the right audience, my ideal buyer, my audience persona, if you will? Where am I going to find them? And maybe I'm going to find them on TikTok, or maybe I'm going to find them on Facebook, or maybe I'm going to find them just via email because they've gotten off social media. We are seeing that as a trend now too. Maybe that's a better fit, or maybe really I need to be in galleries and not on social, because the gallery is where I'm going to find people who are more collectors, and that is more what my product is. It just really depends. And then you want to look on what's budget friendly. Can you afford to do this? So social media may be free and PR might be free, but both cost time. Right? Both of them are your time. So that's part of how you think about it and what feels sustainable. So you have to be able to keep it up. If you absolutely hate editing video, Reels are not going to be for you. So you're not going to be on YouTube potentially for now, right? Or TikTok, because if you don't want to edit the video, then that's going to be problematic. But if that sounds exciting to you, I want to figure out how to edit my video, then maybe that's a great place to invest your time. All right, so here is where you'll do your planning. You know, thinking about your audience fit, what fits your budget, and what feels sustainable. Sorry, that's something you can kind of just, you know, work on, think about. Might not have all those answers right now. But one thing you might be able to think about, and if you do, you can drop it in the chat. That's awesome. What's one small action you can take this week to move forward in one of your channels? Just one thing you can do. Think of it, drop it in the chat. Oh, we're petering out. We've lost our stamina for the marketing. What are we going to do in our add emails I've collected into my MailChimp account? Yes. And then what we're going to do next month, Carol, is we're going to build a MailChimp form that we don't have to add them in. They're going to add them in themselves from our website and from our live events, because we're going to bring our iPad and they're just going to be able to put it right in, and we're not going to have to do that extra step. So that's something to think about, because you can do embedded forms. Oh, this is great. So we're going to make a connection with a local store to place pieces in our store. Awesome. We're going to do some regular social media posts. We're going to make a list of online sales options. Yes, coming up with the options is actually a step toward doing something. Better consistency with my posting. Oh, we've got an email template and we're going to update it. And we're going to push our newsletter to sign up. Update our website. These are great. And I hope you write them down for yourself too, so you remember to do it. So when I email you next week and say, did you do your thing? You'll have done your thing. Okay. Now, what are we going to put in all these channels? Let's talk about that. So what's our marketing content? So one of the things that I truly, truly believe is that marketing isn't about selling. It's about building our connection with people so they can understand you as a creative person. So yes, of course, we hope a byproduct of that is that they're purchasing your work. But if we're just always sell, 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 and I said this when I worked in performing arts, right? When I am working performing arts marketing channels, I had a rule that I could only post one sales post on social, and out of every 5 posts, the other 4 posts had to be educational or informative or fun. So what I see as a big mistake in arts marketing is everything is buy tickets, buy tickets, buy tickets, buy this product, buy this product, buy this product. And then you say that that's the only thing that you're valuable for. But it's not. You're a community member who participates in things. You don't just create art, you go to things. You have a whole persona to share with people. And when people know you, it starts to build trust with you and a familiarity with you between you and your audience. So you have to show them your value. What's your value to your community? What's your value to the region? What's your value to Kentucky? What do you share about that? And how do you keep people engaged when you don't have something to sell? If you don't have something to sell right now, that's okay. You're building anticipation for the next time you have something, right? So that doesn't mean you don't participate in the social aspects of social media. Social media is the most important aspect. So that's something to really think about. So let's talk about what some of that content might look like. So really, I love, for artists and arts organizations, I love that behind the scenes look, because behind the scenes is something that people who don't participate in an artistic practice don't really understand. And they actually find it really interesting to understand, what is a creative routine like? How many things does it take to actually put together your creative practice? What kind of tools do you use to put together your jewelry or to sculpt? Or, I mean, David, I'm sitting here wondering right now, how do you make those spoons? You know, what tools do you need to make them? I don't know, because I've never done that. So those are things that you can inform me on and inform your audience on. Oh, I can see it. So that's really cool, right? People want to know how you get this and how this happens. You can also process videos. So time lapse can be really cool to show how long something takes and watching it happen. So a time lapse. Also short clips of how something comes together, like maybe you're an oil painting artist and it takes you 2 weeks to put together a painting, from the pencil sketch, well, maybe even from stretching the canvas to the pencil sketch to the application. People don't know that you're doing all that. Show them. And then that also adds value to what they're purchasing, because now you have to show them that, because we can go to Home Goods and buy a mass produced painting and put it on the wall. So show them why yours is better than that, because it is done by hand with all of those intricate things and the things you're thinking about. You could even show mini how-tos, like how to mix paint into another color, or how to do something that they might be able to do at home, or that they could try at home, that might build their appreciation for what you do because theirs might not look as good as yours, right? That's always what happens for me. Like when I've taken some, and I try it. So that might be something. So studio updates, maybe you're going to try to use a new material and that might be something you want. Or even, is there music you listen to, Brooke, when you create your work? What is it? And maybe even talking about that artist's music and why it inspires you and how you use that, just as an example, right? These are all different ways people can get to know you. You could do teasers on your new collections, what's coming up, even little, like tiny little shots of a big piece until it comes together as one. Talk about upcoming events, obviously where they're going to find you at your open studios or the markets. You can show off the finished piece. Maybe it's for sale. Now you can. So now it's the first time I'm telling you all these ideas. The first time I'm saying, here's something for sale and here's all the details about it. Another thing that if you can get it really is impactful are testimonials or client stories. So I can't remember the name of the person who said that they worked with 2 home buyers to buy big artworks. If you can ask those buyers to stand in front of your work and talk about what it means in their home and use that video, that's going to speak volumes to people, right? So those are things. You can also have what we call a call to action. So what I need you to do next, can you visit my website? Maybe look at this commission I just did. You can commission a piece. You can just sign up for my newsletter. And it sounded like a lot of you are going to do that next, right? We want you to sign up for my newsletter. So lots of different things you can use to develop that content. So what we would call just a mini 5-day marketing plan is just these 5 squares, right? What we're going to do in 5 days. So on day 1, we're going to do something that introduces a new project I'm working on. Hey, I had this idea. I'm going to put together a project. I'm going to paint something that a photograph that I took at the Kentucky Derby. I don't know. So something like that. You're just saying what you're going to do. And then maybe on day 2, you're showing part of your process. Day 3, maybe you're talking about the inspiration that came. Someone was talking about birding and that maybe it's something about that. Oh, I saw this amazing bird on this trip to Maine and here's what I'm going to do. Maybe the teaser, the close up or a crop shot, and then the call to action. You're going to see this piece at the new art fair. Now, when I say 5-day marketing plan, you don't have to do all those artworks in that 5 days, right? So the idea is maybe you're going to work on a new art piece and you're going to collect this information, but you're going to share this information maybe after the fact, right? Because you might be too busy creating, but you're going to take those pictures so that you can go back or maybe take the reel, the video, and share this information. So you don't have to post them all on the same day. That's an option, of course, but don't think you have to do everything all at once. You really can just collect the material and post it later. So, and as the last piece in your workshop plan, I have for you more of a bigger marketing plan. So, and that bigger marketing plan might actually build out what date are you going to do it, what specifically the content is, what caption I might use. And this might be what you do when you actually, after you've taken those snapshots while you're working on your project, now I have time, it's actually finished. I'm going to think about how I'm going to share this and what it meant to me, and then what I'm going to use from what I collected. So you don't have to think through all of these items when you're actually creating it. You can add this in later and how you're going to share it. And you have all those pieces in your worksheet packet. So does anyone have questions about that? Because next I'm going to just share some great tools and resources that I think might be helpful to you. But if we have questions about building out that marketing plan, let's talk about them now. Let me check the chat. I like Stephanie's advice. Be like Nike and just do it. Yeah, imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome holds us back a lot, but we all have something to offer. And that's why part of it is identifying what's unique about you. It really does. And that might be part of that's why, and Stephanie is also sharing that building a relationship. The reason we focus on marketing, well, the reason I think about marketing is building a relationship is so it doesn't just feel transactional. It's not just I'm selling you something like you buy a soda, right? We're trying to build a relationship so people talk about our artwork with other people. Derek, how much is too much on social media? I don't want to annoy followers. Yeah, I would say you maybe if you're getting to 3 to 5 a day, that's probably a lot, but that is what a lot of practice says, 3 to 5 a day. Is beauty of value? I think so. But what kind of beauty? I think that's how you expand that, right? How do you market that? How do you expand that? What kind of beauty? Is it physical beauty? Female beauty. Okay, now we're getting somewhere, right? So is it also about, and who is the female beauty for? Like, is it about empowering women? Is it about sharing the joy of the female form? Is it about looking at women who are non-traditionally beautiful and sharing their beauty? I think there's more to deep dive in here. And once you figure out all those questions, then you start to explore what it is that you're really bringing and offering. But I love that. So Carol mentions that she has a public Facebook page with not many followers and a personal page that gets much more response. And I've been making posts to the public page and sharing to the personal page, which seems like extra work. Here's the thing about social. And I definitely understand why people went this way. When it kind of started coming out, people would have like a professional page or their business page, and they'd have a personal page. But the reality is social media is about being social. And if people aren't getting to know you, then it isn't authentic. And so I suggest you have one page and you share the content on one page. Now, I have one page on my various social media platforms, and I share a lot about what I do for my work because that is part of my brand of who I am. But I also share aspects of my personal life, right? Every one of my students knows I have a dog named Terrence that I adore, who might as well be my son. And that's part of understanding me as a person. And I think it helps them get to know me in a way that they couldn't know me in a classroom if I don't share anything about my personal life. And they know I have a partner. They know, that maybe if I've gone on vacation, I saw beautiful things or the artwork that I loved. Now, that said, because I have students there and I open that page up, I'm judicious about what I'm going to share, right? I'm not going to share absolutely everything about my whole life that could put me in danger for some reason, or that would be over the top and inappropriate. So that means for me, social media, I walk a line, right? Now that's a little different because I have an employer who could say something. You're an individual artist, and maybe as an individual artist, pushing the boundaries is what you want to do, but you have to decide what you're comfortable with. But I think it is extra work and doesn't actually help your followers get to know you as an artist. Anything about your own personal aspects and values. I think that's a great question, though. So thank you for sharing these questions. All right, so here's some tools and resources. Here we go. All right, so how many are using Canva? Oh my gosh, the invention of Canva was a changer, right? We don't know how to make that thing look beautiful. Well, now everyone can make that thing look beautiful. So Canva has all kinds of templates. You can start from scratch. You can build out a whole brand, which is nice, making things look the same for your brand. So you can use this to design graphics, social media, flyers, business cards, your newsletters, all of the things. Drag and drop interface, free templates. There are paid versions, but I've never even had to get the paid version, and we use it all the time. So the free version is really, really great. And that brand kit that you can get can keep all your fonts and your colors and your logos consistent. Now, Carol's a graphic designer. You don't have to use Canva. I'm talking about the non-designers. So yes, non-designers, because sometimes this can feel overwhelming to put up something that looks nice as a non-designer. So this is a good tool. And Jasmine says they offer a free training program that you can learn how to use all the tools on their site. So it is nice a way to do that. Okay. And Linktree. So Linktree is really great because the whole point of this is it can keep all of your multiple links in one place. So you might see it, you may have already seen people using this on Instagram. So this way it will show you how to get to your Etsy store or your website or your other social. So Linktree is really helpful. You can have a link to all your events, all your portfolio, and that way you're not having to always put it up, and it can sit right under your information in Instagram. So that is one place. You can really customize that. And again, you can make it match your brand. And there's a free version. So that's fantastic. MailChimp. Somebody already mentioned MailChimp in here. I love MailChimp. I think it's a very user-friendly interface, and there are free versions with like up to 1,000 people in your email list and up to so many messages, which you would never get to. Yeah, so the free version is fantastic. Here is where you're going to use to send your email newsletters. Keep all of your audience in one spot, and then it's going to update. If that email closes and it starts bouncing, it's going to take care of it. You're not taking care of it. They have a sign up form you can build. I use this when I go to events. If I go to events, I bring a laptop or a iPad. I have my sign up form there. I ask people to sign up right there. It puts it directly into my mailing list. I don't even have to type it later. Bam, I have 100 new people on my list. No problem. And you can use a sign up link on your Linktree and your website so they get to MailChimp. So you just put it all in one. You know, you don't want to keep these lists in multiple places. Now, one of the things about planning and scheduling, there's lots of tools and there's lots of paid tools, but I'm giving you 2 free tools that I think can work really well. Google Calendar and Trello are both tools that you can use for planning, scheduling your content, having those marketing goals. They have this visual component, and hopefully they won't overwhelm us. Trello almost looks like, if you haven't used it, it almost looks like sticky notes, and you can put them in columns and you can be like, oh, I'm going to write content about these things. And once you do, you can be, boom, I posted it on LinkedIn. Oh, I posted it over here. Okay, we're moving on from that. So they can help you keep track of those things, but a Google Calendar might work just as well. And then there are paid things where you can actually schedule all your social through one. But again, you're getting into a paid content. I wanted to share some free resources. All right, we have talked about a whole lot. I'm going to open up for general questions, but also where you can connect with me on email and my socials. And then, all right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up for any questions or anything you want to chat about for the next couple minutes.
Hi,
How we
Rachel.
all-
Hi.
Hi, Brooke.
Hey, thank you so much for this workshop. It's been really helpful for me to just kind of kick my butt in gear to do this stuff. So that's great.
Yes.
I've been kind of out of the loop. I took some social media courses, research and stuff a few years ago, but obviously it changes so quickly. And you mentioned that what's the average good amount of time to post, per day? I know you mentioned 3 to 5 times a day. That to me, for a person who hates social media, it sounds like a prison. So I don't know how to, still keep up with it, but also still be myself,
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted a little
Yeah.
advice on that
Yeah,
posting.
well, we don't want you in a social media prison at all. No, not at all. Now, David mentioned, because maybe he sounded like he might like doing it, so he doesn't want to annoy people. So, even if you're doing it 3 times a week, I think it's the consistency that matters.
Okay.
It's the consistency, so that you're getting something out on a regular basis. Once a week is probably not enough on social media. It just gets buried too fast.
Yeah. So I
So
usually
that's one of the
post-
things, but you can, as someone mentioned, Anne's mentioning, and this is true, you can schedule posts. So let's
Yeah.
say you only want to go in once to my Facebook, and then you can actually schedule the post to come out for the whole week. And
Yep.
that
And I
might
do
be a little easier.
Yeah, I do that. So do you think if three posts a week and then I post something to my stories every day on Instagram, just updates, things
Mhm.
that I did that
Yep.
day.
Yeah.
So,
I
okay.
think that's good. You're giving consistency, and then thinking about what you're sharing. Is it talking about the value of the work you're doing and what you're bringing? That's what's important.
Yeah, can I, sorry, can I interject for a second?
Yeah.
The big thing that I'll notice is the one thing that's helped me lately with my social media posting is turning on my camera anytime I'm doing anything. Whether or not I want to, whether or not I feel like I've got a storyline behind it. Sometimes I catch some good footage, but then I throw all of that into its own folder. And then I kind of just mail through them. And usually I'll find some extra content just to throw out there. Because even if you filmed like a year ago, something a year ago, it will still be pertinent today for anybody else that's watching, even though it might be something that's old material for you.
Yeah, that's completely true. You do not have to share at the time you are doing that thing. That is such an important thing to remember. You're just trying to gather the content that you can then share out. That's great advice. Any other questions, comments?
Well, I will add my biggest thing right now is the website. And it's not necessarily the development of my website because my wife does all that. It's the photography. It's by the time I finish doing all the pictures, I've sold half of the stuff. Because I invested a lot into, I mean, I went out and got camera gear and all sorts of crazy mess. And just trying to be consistent with putting things. I don't think I've added things on my website in the last 4 months. So
So are you doing any, I mean, it sounds like maybe you could do ugh, runs. Like, are you doing additions? Are you doing are you selling more than one of the same?
yeah. It's all I'm filling orders right now, but it's all multiples of things.
Okay.
Yeah. Um yeah. So
Well,
the big thing.
then maybe you have a different place. Maybe you're using your website to show your brand, and you're directing people to your social for your current things for sale. I mean, that could be an option, because that, if you're getting it up much faster there because you can just do it from your phone, that could be one way you could structure that.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got ideas.
Hey, I had a few questions about somebody getting started with working up a good social media content process. Like, what kind of equipment do you need? Like, you're talking about filming all the time. Like, where do you store all these films and data and
Yeah. So
files, large files?
yeah, 100%. That's part of the budget, you're talking about. You're probably going to want cloud storage. And so honestly though, everything you need to do, you can do with a good smartphone now, really everything.
Yeah.
And
On
so
the cloud.
as long as you've got some cloud storage, then you should be able to use that to store what you want. And, once you get things there and organized, like David was saying earlier, just because you're not doing it right now, that doesn't mean you can't share it again, right? Like, you worked on a great piece and you kept all those files about it, you can bring it back. Oh, 3 years ago, I worked on this piece and I was thinking about it today because of XYZ, and share it again. You know, it doesn't always have to be brand new content. And so if you've got that cloud storage and you organize it in a way to make it accessible to you, so you can quickly find things, that would work. And I keep Apple cloud storage and I get a terabyte a month for $10. I'm nowhere near filling that up. So, and I do think cloud storage is better than, you know, sometimes I'll also keep, you know, the external hard drives, but they're just so much more clunky to use. You've got to plug it in, you've got to find it, blah, blah, blah. And you can lose that, whereas cloud storage is a little easier to keep. So, does that help?
Kind of, it's just inspiration.
Inspiration. Also,
Yeah,
I can tell you,
it's a tech side of things, and that's
Yeah.
like kind of out of our realm, or at least my realm of knowledge base. So it's a huge learning curve.
you need a light like this.
Yeah.
Right? Some kind of light to help. You might want to invest in something depending on what you're doing. Maybe there's a background. You know, like if you want to put everything on an all white or all black background, depending on that, you probably want a you know what I'm talking about? You put your phone on it.
The holder thing.
A holder thing. Yes, that's the technical term. It's coming to me. A whole tripod.
Tripods, or you've got these right here. You can buy them on Amazon, but like you see these little buddies, you clamp your
Yeah.
phone to it, and you can clamp that thing to anything.
Yeah, so really, and these things are not that expensive anymore, so it's not that much of an investment. And if you have it all set up and you're working and you just hit the video, that's
Yeah, I think the efficiency would be really important, so you don't start to feel like you're a slave to.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just about taking the picture or video right then.
Yeah, that's been a good insightful thing, because I mean, you have to stay true to your process and what you're creating and spend the time on it already. But I like the idea of carving out a little bit of time weekly
Yes.
to dedicate to the other aspects of having a business.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I don't want you to be inauthentic and to yourself, but part of it is finding your audience. So, you know, doing what you do and then finding ways to share that is what we want to try to,
Take the
that's what I
office
want you
work.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah, the office work side of it. Whereas, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yolanda wanted to know if videos are better than photos on social media. I don't necessarily think so. People do like a video now, but it depends what it is. I think photos are better if you're trying to show the one specific item, but videos are better if you're trying to animate the work you do. So I just think it depends on what your goal is.
I have a quick anecdote and question. I know of a ceramic artist out in California. She definitely has the followers, you know, tens of thousands of followers, and she definitely has the market. She sells they're highly decorative, and she spends a lot of time on them. So she sells a ceramic mug for $285. But she will work tirelessly for a month, building up a body of work, and then releases it all at once. When she does, she allows some exclusivity, like you can pay $25 to have first view before anyone else does. And that's where I brought up the topic of being gimmicky. I feel like at her point in her career, maybe she can get away with that just because there is such high demand. But it's still, I don't know, there's something about it that still seems kind of icky, or is it just smart marketing, smart businessship? And I just wanted your thoughts on it.
I think if it feels icky to you, it's icky for you, right? Like, I mean, that it has to feel good to you. I get why she's doing that. I also get why she's building up the work, because if you're only releasing one thing or can only release one or two things a week, you're not taking advantage of the promotional time that you're getting from people's time. So I actually totally understand that. But the fact that you can upcycle to or pay a special fee to get the special release, it takes people out of the marketplace potentially, right? And it sounds like she's already at a high end market. And so maybe she's not interested in keeping some of those. I mean, when you're trying to build a market, I say you always have to have something that people can buy to start to love your work. If everything's priced at a point that a young person, maybe someone who loved your work couldn't buy it, then you're never going to develop them into your collector. So I don't think you should do anything that doesn't feel right for you. I mean, you are at the end of the day, you are your small business. So yeah, but it's interesting. Now I'm going to have to go look her up, Matthew, what she's doing. Any last questions?
Are all your posts on your personal page public then, or friends only?
I think they're public. Well, I don't
Yeah.
know. They might be friends only. Okay, you can actually say on the thing, I think my posts are friends only. And then when I post things like when I shared that I was doing this workshop, I made that public.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to, didn't want to get a bunch of creepazoids in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there can be. You have to be careful of that stuff. For sure.
It's kind of a cesspool.
Can I ask a fast question?
Of course.
Do you find that people go to websites more than Instagram or vice versa? Or what do you think about a website for like an artist, a painter? Like I'm a naturalist first, and then I'm an artist second. So, what you were talking about, finding your niche and so I go to I don't know. I don't know which one would benefit me more on something like that.
So people only go to websites who are driven there. So unless you have ways to drive people there, it basically sits empty. So
Okay.
how you're driving them there. So are you driving them there from a newsletter? Are you driving them there from social media or from printed marketing pieces or from a PR piece? But no one is just naturally searching for you likely on a website. So if you have a website, everything has to be driving there from another source. People are on social on their whatever, on their doom scroll, they're just scrolling. So if they come across you, then they might go there. It doesn't guarantee they're going to go there at all.
Okay, thank you. It's sad. I'm a naturalist, so I'm outside all the time. So you can tell I have no website. I have no, my Instagram is nothing but nature photos, and I don't even do photos. I do painting. So, I've got to jump in, do something, but it's like this is so helpful because this is helping me figure out what to do, you know.
Well, one of the things is it's great that your Insta is filled with those photos because you're showing your inspiration, but talk about the inspiration too and what it's going to lead to. Give the little snap of what it is like to be an artist that sees something in nature that someone who's not an artist wouldn't know.
Okay.
Right? You see something different than the rest of us might see it because you're going to turn it into something. So make sure you're giving that insight as well. I just saw a hand and I'm not ignoring you. Where'd she go?
It's Lakshmi.
Did I lose her? All right. Well, I know we are at time. Oh, Jim. Last question, Jim.
Okay. Yeah, I'm having to think of what to do. With music, on online music. So musicians are having to sell T-shirts and merch like that, and I'm kind of needing maybe to think of something else to sell that people want. And I don't know. I do enjoy video. I enjoy photography, and I write a lot of songs about nature, about places in nature, and I don't know. But I'm needing to kind of put this together into something people want, and even videos and pictures online are free. You
Right.
know, that and so I'm trying to maybe put something together that people like. I do a singing circle once a month where people come and sing. It's maybe an experience, and then but people give a little donation. Um, and but I'm having to kind of look at who I am and what I do, and how I might remold that into something that people want,
Yeah.
and that is valued monetarily too.
Yeah, I think
If
that's
that
a
makes
really,
sense.
really interesting point. And one thing that just, I don't know, Jim, one thing I thought of was it almost sounds like a collaboration could be really interesting. Working with, if your work is often inspired by nature, working with an artist like Anne,
Mm.
who also creates work about nature and bringing
Yeah.
together a broader artistic experience that you cannot replicate in an online way.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So, you might want to think about how
Mm.
that's what, even if I love this singing circle idea, you're singing circle, maybe you're doing it in nature. I don't know, but I think there's a lot of interesting,
That's a great idea.
yeah, caveats there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm.
well,
Well,
I
cool.
appreciate your question. I appreciate all of your all's time today, and I really enjoyed this. And I hope that you find the worksheets helpful as you continue your work marketing. And hopefully, I'll see you at some amazing events.
Thank you, Rachel. This has been amazing. I think we got so much information here and so much now to work through for the next weeks and months. So thank you again. Those of you who are interested in working with Rachel, she is a part of our Kentucky Peer Advisory Network. She's a consultant there, and you can apply for a grant to work with her. Right now, the grant deadline just passed, so keep an eye out for any future deadlines. And Rachel also has a colleague who's on our peer advisory network, Winter Fong, and I'm sure she has good information too. You can find that information on the Kentucky Arts Council website. So have a look at that program. I also just want to remind you that the Creative Industry Summit series is available on YouTube. This particular workshop will be up within a few days, so keep an eye out for it. We have our last actually, Creative Industry Summit series event coming up on June 4th, our last one for this round. June 4th at 11 a.m. The Kentucky Center for African American Heritage is working with the Kentucky Arts Council in 2025 to take the annual art exhibition celebrating the Black experience on the road to locations across the Commonwealth. During this event, curators Akram Burton and Julia Youngblood will present two visual artists from the exhibit, Nala Joy of Louisville and Derek King Jr. of Lexington. You do have to register, and you can do that through our website. So check that out. It's going to be really, really interesting. You can go back and watch any of these again on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you, everybody, for attending. We're going to let you go now. Take care.
Think you can stop the recording now.